Welcome, welcome, welcome. As we are settling in for our messaging training today, I invite you to drop into the chat where you are zooming in from. Here at Network, this is one of the ways that we build community across the states. And we'll just take about a minute for people to get settled. So I see Pennsylvania and Virginia, Texas, Indiana, Georgia, New York, Iowa, Ohio, Seattle, Washington, Pennsylvania, Chicago. What a great spread from across the country.
You don't have to.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
And so again, if you are just joining us right now, as you settle in at your screen, go ahead and drop into the chat where you are zooming in from today.
Taking notes.
It is so great to see so many people from all parts of the country, from Seattle, Washington to Pennsylvania and New York, Ohio, Missouri. Thank you so much for joining us today for Network's See, Love, Vote messaging training. I am Sister Eilish McCullough, and I serve on our grassroots mobilization team. And today I am joined by Catherine Gillette, who is also on our grassroots mobilization team, and Virginia Schilder, who is on our communications team. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And as we begin, as we do with all of our work at Network, I would like to begin with an opening prayer. And today's prayer comes to us from Education for Justice. And so I invite you to take a moment to center yourself, placing yourself in the community that we have gathered here today. And we pray, good and gracious God,
Teach.
teacher of all peoples, bless and guide us who seek to educate about your good news of justice and peace. Guide us in our work as we reach out to shape hearts and minds. Accompany us as we deal with complex issues. Help us to find the right words and actions to communicate your love for all members of the global family. Support us as we promote critical reflections on local, national, and international issues. Renew our commitment so we can spark courage and equip us to confront injustice. Allow our vision of a better world to transform spirits. Help us to nurture the skills that will bring this vision to reality. Remind us of our call to proclaim justice and peace and to respond even in small ways. Give us patience and perseverance in our work. Grace us with fellowship and community. And help us to remember that you are our rest and refreshment. And together we say, Amen. For our See, Love, Vote messaging training today, Virginia will lead us in or Catherine will lead us in a wonderful campaign overview. Then Virginia will lead us through the messaging training, during which you'll have time to drop some answers in the chat and also have some practice time to craft your own message. And we will end with a call to action as well as sharing other updates. And just so you are all aware of this, we are recording today's training and we will send out the recording as well as the slides and links to everything we talk about in a follow-up email. That email will be sent out on Thursday. So watch your inboxes for that. And I will now turn it over to Catherine.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sister Eilish. All right, friends, it is really wonderful to be here with you all. I expect that most of you are probably at least a little bit familiar with our new Sea Love Vote campaign. Maybe you came to our launch party with all of our wonderful partners. Maybe you watched the recording afterwards, or maybe you heard about it at a team meeting, or maybe you just clicked around on our website a little bit. Whatever your connection to this campaign is, we are grateful that it got you here today. I will say, though, it is our deep hope that today's training is going to help you to go deeper. Rather than just be the recipients of the Sea Love campaign message, we want you all to become well-versed and energetic champions of it, sharing the campaign and its important message with your local communities and networks. So let's go ahead and dive in. What is Sea Love Vote? Well, it is an education and voter engagement campaign. It is 501c3 nonpartisan. It is rooted in the Catholic social justice tradition, and it is open to all. As of yesterday, we have 55 partners signed on to this campaign, and they represent a number of Catholic organizations and congregations of Catholic sisters, plus partners across different faith traditions, including some of our Muslim and Jewish friends, as well as secular partners. It is a really, really cool list, and I encourage you to check it out on the website. And so I have to say, personally, I absolutely love the campaign name, See, Love, Vote. I think it is catchy, it's clever, and it's just really powerful. But I think also it is even cooler once you hear a little bit of the backstory about where it came from. So our brilliant communications team was inspired by See, Judge, Act, which is a framework from Catholic social teaching and Latin American liberation theology. See, Judge, Act calls us to look critically at what is going on around us in the world today, to see, to reflect on the current reality in light of one's faith and values and the kind of world we are called to build, Judge, and then to take steps towards positive change and social transformation, Act. The name See, Love, Vote also grew out of watching people on the streets in Minneapolis and in a number of other cities, and really just seeing the love that they were showing and the powerful force it was, and how it inspired communities to rally and to speak out. So love gave people the courage and the strength to show up on the streets in solidarity with and in care for their neighbors. And so that was a little bit of our inspiration for See, Love, Vote. So as I mentioned before, this campaign is nonpartisan. We are not just saying that. This is a legal designation. We don't make up the guidelines. It is 501c3 friendly. We are urging people to vote and holding our community in our hearts as we do so. We are not endorsing or opposing any candidate or party. We are not naming party leaders or candidates. We can talk about the issues, but not pending legislation. But past legislation is okay to talk about. And so it is really, really, really important that all of you help to maintain these standards when engaging in work related to See, Love, Vote. Which brings me to my next slide. We want people to be voting. How are we going to make that happen? Well, together, we want to inform and inspire. We want to help people to understand and feel really energized about how our votes connect to our values, the issues that we care about, and the things that we want for our communities. So Network is creating all kinds of helpful materials and resources. We have the SELA Vote checklist, which is already available on our website. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to check it out. I'm sure it'll also be in the follow-up email. We are also working on some resources that we call fun pagers. And so these fun pagers are one-page resource guides, but they're kind of just kind of fun and creative and catchy. And so stay tuned for those. Those are coming your way soon. And so we encourage you to share these resources, to host events, to have conversations, and maybe to consider writing a letter to the editor to help inform and inspire your local community to see Love Vote. We also want to be equipping. And so we want to make sure that people have what they need to cast their ballot. This might include a number of different things, including helping people to register to vote or helping them to check their voter registration, making sure that they are still registered, helping them to develop a voting plan, sharing some information about voting. We know that some states have passed new laws related to voting, and so we want to make sure that everyone is aware of what they need and to be prepared to vote. And so also, you might consider hosting a voter registration drive or a postcard party, and Sister Eilish is going to share a bit more about that in a couple of minutes. So, if you are interested in any of this, if you're feeling energized, if you're ready to go, and we hope that you are, I just wanted to let you know we will have lots of resources and support materials, and we will be with you every step of the way. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Virginia from Network's communications team to share some important messaging guidance.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Hi, everyone. I'm Virginia. As Catherine said, I'm on the communications team at Network. I'm really excited to be here with you today to talk about messaging, because we know that words matter, right? The language that we use matters. And so how do we talk and write about voting in a way that really does move people not only to vote, but to vote in a way that connects with our values, with what we're seeing in our communities, and what we want and dream of for our communities? I want to start us with a little note of encouragement. The best person to move people in your community to vote is you. What moves people at the end of the day is not facts and figures. It's not perfectly crafted arguments, unfortunately, but it's compassionate conversations with trusted people. And that is you, right? As human beings, we're social beings, and we naturally tend to do what we think people like us do, right? The fancy term for this is social proof. So I want none of us to underestimate the power that we have as trusted messengers in our communities and as someone who can offer the social proof, right? You can say in your community, hey, people like us in this community, we love our neighbors. We get involved, we vote. This is what we're doing. So I just want that to be our starting place. So if you're a trusted messenger, you're carrying a message to your community, a good message does something. What do we want our message to do? And I think it's first helpful to think about who's hearing our message. If you will permit me a big generalization, I think it's safe to say that many, if not most people in the United States right now are pretty tired. They're overwhelmed. They're fed up with a political life they don't feel like really serves them. They know times are bad. They certainly know that life is really unaffordable. But the problem is, many don't think that voting can do anything about it. We call this a problem of efficacy. So with our message, we want to energize. We want to say, no, voting really is a way that we can live our values of loving our neighbors and actually make things better, right? You see this little kind of schematic I made here on the right? This is the connection we're trying to build, that loving our neighbors means working for these concrete goods of healthcare, stable housing, food on our tables, safety, clean air to breathe, right? It helps to name these concrete goods. And then that voting is a way to deliver that, right? Let's also consider that we are bombarded. Oops, excuse me. My earbud fell out. We are bombarded all the time by messages that are trying to divide us, to pit us against each other, and make us feel powerless, right? And so, with our message, we want to overcome that by saying, no, when we come together, we can make our voices heard. We can shape our future. We can deliver these things that we need in our communities. And voting is an important tool that we have to make that happen. Fun fact, I've seen a lot of research in the past year that has said messages that include some kind of sense of collective action, this feeling of like, together we can do this, do work well to move people, including disillusioned voters, which I don't know about you, but I find that to be pretty hopeful. So, with all of that in mind, what's the key message of our campaign? This kind of sums up what we are really trying to say, and I'll just read this. People of faith and goodwill across the country are voting in the midterm elections this fall because we take seriously our call to love our neighbors. Together, we are voting to build a country where all of us have what we need to thrive. So you can see a couple things at work here, right? We have the social proof. People of faith across the country are voting. We have our values. We take seriously our call to love our neighbors. And then we have this collective action, right? Together, we're voting, we're building a country where we all can thrive. And then the main place that we are directing folks is what I've been calling the magic link, networkadvocates.org/vote. This is the place, this is the one-stop shop where folks can check their voter registration status, actually get registered to vote, and find more information and resources. And as Catherine said, we're going to continue to add things to this website as the weeks go on. If someone was running past my voter registration table and I only had 1 second, I would say, hey, go to this website and check your registration status. Catherine also mentioned the possibility of postcards, right? You will be invited later to consider sending Speed Love Vote postcards to voters across the country. And as you can see here on the left, they come with a very handy outline for your message already there. And it's basically like, here's what I see, here's how I love, and here's why I vote. Very conveniently, this 3-part structure works really well for other kinds of messages. So you can use this if you're writing letters to the editor, if you're posting on social media, or also if you're having a conversation with somebody. And so what we're going to do now is go into each one of these elements and kind of talk about how we can make them the most compelling as possible. So the first part is I see. This is the part of your message where you are really painting what is at stake right now and what is happening in our communities in vivid and concrete terms. So for example, I could say, I see healthcare becoming more expensive. That's certainly true, but what does that really mean? What does that look and feel like, right? So you might say instead, my premium just went up by $400 a month, and I'm not sure if I can afford my insurance or if I'm going to be able to buy groceries, right? I have to ration my insulin. It could be I'm really worried about where my mom's going to live because our local nursing home just had to close, right? We want to bring the issues really down to our kitchen tables and our neighborhood streets and think about how they feel. So some other examples, some of my church members were detained and separated from their families. Or I see none of my friends in their 30s can afford to buy a home. That's certainly true for me. You can also draw on positions that you have in your community, whether that's a job as a nurse or a teacher or a volunteer work. Could say I volunteer in a local food pantry and I see a surge in families needing food. Now, if you want to take this the next step further, you could consider including a why. What does that mean? So if we say, I see my sister struggling to put food on the table, why? Well, her SNAP benefits were cut by lawmakers who chose to fund billionaire tax breaks instead. This is nonpartisan because I'm not saying it's because of Democrats or because of Republicans or a particular politician. I've said lawmakers generally, and I'm referring to a legislative action that happened in the past. In this case, I'm talking about the 2025 budget reconciliation process. I have to drive 2 hours to the nearest hospital. Why? Cuts to Medicaid forced my local clinic to close. And then I put a star next to this last one because this is especially good narrative to include when we're talking about voting, as we are. I see some state lawmakers passed bills that try to stop eligible voters from voting. Why? So they can hold onto power for themselves. Again, you don't have to do this, but adding a why is helpful because it helps us to show how the decisions that our elected leaders, our policymakers make really do affect us in our daily lives, right? It helps us build our case that voting matters. So we're now going to take a minute to kind of start flexing this muscle and practice. So I invite you to just share one sentence for I see. Just pick one thing that you see in your community. You can't name all of the issues. And I would say also don't think too hard about it. Usually the first thing that comes to mind is going to be the thing that you can speak most powerfully about. So we'll just take a moment here. And share it in the chat whenever you're ready. All right. Linda writes, I see families moving out of my city because rents are so unaffordable. Yep. Terry writes, I see more families utilizing our neighborhood food boxes. Oh, Mary Verdino, this is a great one. I see immigrants in our neighborhoods fearful to go to work or send their kids to school. Yeah, these are great. All right, well done. So we're starting to get in the flow of it. All right, so with IC, we've said the kind of urgent, dire things that we're seeing around us. But then in the next section for I love, we're going to talk about the good things that we want and dream of for our loved ones, our neighbors, and our communities. This is where, we're talking about the things that make us go, like, yeah, I want that too. I love that too. So if I've just said, I see school lunches being cut back because of the cuts to SNAP, then you could say, but I love my granddaughter and I want her to never be hungry in class. If we've said, I see my neighbors being rounded up on the street and deported, then you could say, but I love my neighborhood and I want all of us here to feel safe and welcomed no matter where we come from or the color of our skin. Remember how we said earlier that there are narratives that are trying to divide us based on our differences? This is an opportunity to bring us together. No matter the color of our skin, we deserve to feel safe and welcomed. Other examples, I love my country and I want every eligible voter to have a say in shaping its future. Or I love my state and I want us to have the strong hospital system Medicaid helped us build. This section is also the place, if it feels authentic to you, to bring in your faith and moral values. Moral clarity is very compelling in messaging, including to people who might not even share your particular religious identity, right? So this example calls back to our key message. As a person of faith, I take seriously my call to love my neighbors, and I want to live in a country that honors the dignity of every person. So you can see here in this section, again, what we're just trying to do is connect our love to these concrete goods, these concrete things that we dream of for our communities. So let's practice again, thinking about what you said for I see. Now, what is it that you love? Sometimes the trick I use is like, what would make me breathe a sigh of relief, right? All right, we're starting to come in here. Sister Donna Corva says, I love my state and I want to preserve her rich and beautiful nature. Wendy says, I love all the neighbors in my community. I want everyone to feel safe and included, right? That's something that we all want. Annette writes, I love my city. I lost it. I want all to feel that their lives matter and that they can flourish here. Beautiful. All right. Oh, did my video go away? Can everyone still see the screen?
We can see the screen, just not you, Virginia.
Oh, okay. Hopefully I'll come back. Okay, well, let's continue on. So we've said this kind of beautiful future that we want to build, that we dream of. And finally, we're going to say, I vote to make that happen, right? I'm voting so that all of us can have quality healthcare we can afford. I vote to make sure our leaders put people over polluters' profits and protect clean air and water for all of us. Now, remember earlier, I talked about how collective action works really well. So this is also a place you could weave that in. I vote because I know that together we can make housing affordable for everyone in Virginia. I live in Virginia, so I tend to write Virginia examples. All right, you know what to do by now. Let's try one final sentence for I vote. I see I vote to make a difference. I vote because I believe every vote counts. Elaine writes, I vote because I believe we can all make a difference in the lives of all people. Oh, I love Wendy. I vote because my grandmother was in the era of winning the right to vote, and I want all eligible voters to have that right. Bernadine writes, I believe I have a voice. Yeah, this is awesome. So all of you are incorporating these messages of together we can have a voice, we can make a difference. And I'm seeing a lot of really inclusive language for all of us, for everyone. That's beautiful. Lois, a future free of fear. Yes, these are things that everyone wants. Okay, you guys are doing amazing. You've got it. Well done. So you might be like, all right, I said I see, I love, I vote, I'm done, but not so fast, because we know that every good mobilizing message ends with a call to action or an invitation, right? If you're doing the postcards, this comes already built in, inviting people to scan the QR code and go to our website. If you're writing something like a letter to the editor, maybe your call to action is just come vote early on these days. Maybe you're directing people again to the magic link, check your voter registration status. If you're just talking with someone, you could make a direct invitation. Do you want to come register voters with me at the farmers market on Saturday? Or maybe you want them to get registered. You could say, hey, I have a tool right here on my phone that you could use to check your voter registration status. I'll do it with you right now, right? So we'll practice putting all of this together in a few minutes. But first, I want to pause and share just a few general reminders and best practices. And these go really for any kind of messaging. I'm going to try my video again. Is it still not there?
Still not there.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. You can see the slides. That's what's important. So the most important reminder I can leave you with is to please always use simple language. Unfortunately, in the United States, I think the average reading level is about sixth or seventh grade. If we want our message to spread, it has to be clear and understandable, right? So that means no jargon. We always want to use clear and simple language. We also want to be inviting and positive, right? We want people to want to join us, right? We want people to want to vote. So that means no shame, no exclusive language. And we can't only stay in a place of doom and gloom because that just will not energize anyone. Again, the social proof, giving the sense that people are voting. Kind of a side note here, sometimes you might hear people talk about how low voter turnout rates are in the US compared to other countries. That is actually not helpful because that's kind of implicitly saying, yeah, not many people vote, right? Instead, I would say more and more people have been turning out to vote in recent elections, which is true, by the way. And so we're working to get everyone to the ballot box and something like that, right? You want to give people the sense that we are voting. And then again, the collective action, which you all totally nailed in those examples. Together we can. And then just a few reminders for voting specific messaging. According to research that I have seen, most people who vote in this country say that their top reason for voting is to have a say, right? So that goes back to our building agency, our sense that we vote to have a say in our future. That works really well. Also, as Catherine said, there have been a lot of changes to voting rules in many states, some that make it easier to vote and some that make it harder. But in either case, we want to convey the urgency of not just voting, but making a plan to vote and making sure that without overwhelming folks, just making sure that we are taking the steps to make sure that we have the information we need to cast our ballots. And then finally, do not waste your time getting into debates or trying to debunk, lies about election fraud or these security debates. These are unhelpful narratives that already get enough airtime as it is, and we don't want to give them any more, right? So just always stay on your message, come back to your message about getting out the vote. All right. So now we're going to have the opportunity to practice putting together kind of a complete narrative. You are welcome to use the sentences that you wrote in the previous exercises, or you can try something new. We're just going to do one sentence for I see, I love, I vote, and then include a short call to action or invitation at the end. I put here an example. I won't read it, but you can refer to it as a model. And then Sister Eilish and Catherine, should we put these in the chat or are we going to do groups or how would you like to do it?
I think we can stay in the large group and maybe we'll ask maybe 2 or 3 people to share uh, their whole piece.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. Okay, yeah, so just take maybe 2 minutes now to write and then we'll come back together and ask for some brave volunteers to share. just take about one more minute here.
I think Virginia just got uh, kicked off of Zoom. So we are going to move into Virginia. I don't think is on. Um,
Sorry, it
oh,
kicked me out.
oh, there you go.
I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. Zoom is not happy with me today. Um, okay, if we haven't started sharing yet,
No, we
um,
were just moving into
perfect.
sharing. Yes.
Okay, who would like to be the brave soul to go first and read us your narrative?
I'm happy to do it. It's kind of rough.
Go
Okay,
ahead,
yeah, that's
Mary.
great.
Okay. I see immigrants being afraid and not being able to work or feel safe in our communities in the Chicago area. As a granddaughter of immigrants, I want them to find work, secure housing, and to have a way to legally become a naturalized citizen. I, I intend to vote for leaders who want to support policies that are inclusive and enable immigrants to legally work, pay taxes, and to contribute to our communities. Together, we can vote to develop policies and systems that support the legal entry of immigrants that can help the state of Illinois and also our country to become even stronger.
Woo! I see others applauding you, Mary. That was awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. I loved you used the collective action. You connected like Chicago and Illinois to the country as a whole. Um, I love that you connected to yourself and your own ancestry, and talked about inclusive policies. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing. Somebody else? CJ, I see your hand.
I see the hardships and desperation of the immigrant community in my own parish. I love the multicultural nature of our country, and I vote because I want leaders who hear the voices of so many people who are struggling, as well as because I want to have a voice in protecting our democracy.
Thanks, CJ. Yeah, I love how much you emphasize the theme of having a voice and wanting leaders who listen to us. That is surely a widely shared feeling. How about would one more person like to share? Anybody?
I could try on a different topic.
Yeah.
I see Washington summers getting increasingly drier and hotter with more forest fires and diminishing water storage. I love the diversity and abundance of resources that Washington has traditionally had and been able to count on for future generations. I vote because I believe we need laws and caring legislators to help us reverse climate change and preserve resources for future generations.
Woo. Linda, I loved it. Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, you speak so beautifully about a place and land that you love, your care for future generations. And I love how you said that we need caring legislators. I think that that's really beautiful. Thank you all. Again, all of these examples, both the ones shared now and earlier in the chat, are wonderful and beautiful and really effective messaging. Okay, before I turn us back to Sister Eilish, I wanted to share one more thing if Zoom will allow me. I think I need permission to share my screen again, Eilish.
It is oh, not popping up. Do you want me to go ahead and share?
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you. So this is just a little trick that I use personally in my own life. Thought it could help you. We've used this I see, I love, I vote, this framework. It's very neat and very tidy. But of course, conversations in real life are not always neat and tidy. So, what do you do if you are, let's say, having a table to register voters and someone comes and throws you a curveball? If you can hit the animation, Eilish, I'm very proud of this. Oh, it's okay if not. But basically, if someone says something to you like, you know what, I'm not voting. I don't really like either of the candidates, or I don't think I need to vote. My vote doesn't really matter anyway. Well, a little trick that I use, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to respond to that, is the ABC method. So the first is acknowledge. Remember what we said about compassionate conversations, being like, yeah, I hear you. Neither of the candidates have connected with you yet, or yeah, it's easy to feel like we're just one person, one vote. But then B, we're going to bridge back to what they care about or value that they have. So maybe it'd be like, I heard you say how worried you are about losing your health insurance. Or maybe I know that you're so involved in your church, you really care about being a good neighbor. Or if you don't know what they care about, it's a good time to ask them. And then C, connect back to voting. So we're going to take what it is they care about and connect that to voting. So if they said they're concerned about healthcare costs, then you might say, well, the leaders that we elect, they make decisions that directly impact the cost of our healthcare, how much funding our hospitals get, and so on, right? So that's just a trick that I use, the ABC method, when you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. And I also want to remind you that resources like the See, Love, Vote checklist can help. You can lean on them. You can have, printouts next to you and pick one up and be like, hey, show me which of these issues matters most to you, and have a conversation from there. Because again, these kind of compassionate conversations where we're listening, these are the things that are going to transform our communities. So thank you. Over to Sister Eilish.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Virginia. That was a wonderful presentation, and listening to all of you as you shared what you see, what you love in your communities, and why you are voting was inspiring and gave, I know, me and I'm sure Catherine and Virginia and our other colleagues great energy for the work that we're doing. We are so grateful for all of you. Before I shift over to the call to action, I want to make sure that there are no questions for Virginia about the materials that were presented. As a reminder, you will receive the PowerPoint in a follow-up email on Thursday, and you can always reach back out with questions. But does anyone have anything they would like to ask right now? think I see anyone. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen one final time. At Network, for those of you who have been around for a long time, or maybe this is one of your first trainings or workshops with us, we always end with a call to action or calls to action. 2 months ago, Network launched what we are calling squad goals. And a squad goal, there's 3 each month, and they are an easy way for you to take action. You can call up 3 to 5 of your friends, your neighbors, fellow parishioners, community members, colleagues, people that you know, to take action with Network. And I will be sure to link to our squad goal resource on our website. But coming up in August, all of our squad goals are connected to See Love Vote. They're connected to what you heard about today. So up first, we are encouraging you with your friends or maybe by yourself to write a letter to the editor around See Love Vote using those beautiful, beautiful phrases and sentences and stories that you created today. And we will have a letter to the editor, kind of one pager that will give you some instructions and best practices for that, as well as a messaging guide. You also heard earlier during this presentation that we are going to have See Love Vote postcards. And in August, we are encouraging you to host postcard writing parties. And some of you have already been in the chat and you're asking, where can I get these postcards? How do I access them? We will be sending out and announcing the postcards at the beginning of August. So watch your emails, watch networkadvocates.org/vote for more information about the postcards. There will be a request form where you can let us know how many you're committing to write, or maybe how many you and your friends or your congregation are willing to write. And we will give you kind of sample messaging. We'll give you the addresses that you will need to send them to, as well as a few other network swag for See Love Vote. And finally, our third August squad goal is we are encouraging you to table maybe at your place of worship or another community space using the See Love Vote voter checklist or the About See Love Vote page or one of our other materials. And you will be getting an email with all of these wonderful squad goals in that at the beginning of August to remind you. Our next call to action is to register for August's See Love Vote organizing training that will be led by our colleague Catherine. And that training, again, will be offered 2 times in August. On Tuesday, August 18th at 12 noon Eastern Time or 9 a.m. Pacific, or Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You will receive, again, another email with a link to register for that. It will be a 1-hour training. And finally, I hope that you are sharing all of this wonderful material, the link to our website, with your friends and family and colleagues. We are always happy to answer any questions that you have about the materials, and to help you think through ways that you can get this See Love Vote message out into the public. We always say at Network that we cannot do our work without all of you. You give us inspiration, and you always tell us when you're doing amazing events or squad goals in your communities. So continue reporting back. That is what gives us great energy. And one quick answer to a comment in the chat. Um, Most of our materials so far, the voter checklist, the About Sea Love Vote page, and the postcards are also available in Spanish. And that link is on our website too. Um, so again, you will receive your follow-up email on Thursday, with the link to the recording and everything else. Um, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions. And thank you, thank you, thank you for being so engaged today. I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day.